Welcome, everybody. This is the RPS Golf Wars Show. I'm Statsational filling in for JBC tonight. And, of course, I've got my man Mitch and Bryce along here with me for some DFS golf as we get the golf season heated up. How are we doing today, boys? Mitch, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a good game you guys were at here a couple days ago. Looking forward to diving into this interesting event with I think DraftKings finally got Scotty priced appropriately, and interested to see what you guys have to say about that, and diving into our first Pro-Am of the year.
Yeah. Pro-Am event. We got a little bit, 3 days, 3 rounds before they have a cut, so that may change some things for some people. Bryce, last time I saw you was a couple of days ago sitting at the center bar over at the Hard Rock, and you were celebrating, of course, that Indiana championship. Great finish to that game, certainly if you were an Indiana fan. How are you doing on this Wednesday night?
Well, I mean, that was crazy weekend, crazy game. My buddy was like an NIL guy, so he kind of had to hook up for the weekend. So I was just kind of along for the ride. I didn't go to IU, but my wife was a cheerleader there. She won national championship, so she was like wearing a national championship ring the whole weekend. So that was kind of a cool touch because Indiana doesn't have tons of natties here. That's a pretty unique one to have. I mean, as far as the game went, I mean that Mendoza run will probably go down as one of the crazier plays, and it's nice to, kind of have a defining play for like a defining game and season. And I think that definitely qualifies. Having 2nd and 1 to win, a false starting, and then giving the ball back to Miami up 6 with basically them having a 2-minute drill to win the game. Kind of nuts. But it all worked out. You got Carson Beck to make a mistake, which he can do. And, that's the arch nemesis of the other member of the show who is not here tonight. But Mark and Carson have a long storied history, kind of like I do with Warren Sapp now. Yes. So I'm just glad the good guys won, and we had a great time at the game, and yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, apparently every trip now that we've made to Miami for a sporting event comes down to some sort of a confrontation with an athlete. And I guess you got to call Carson Beck a professional athlete, considering these guys are all getting paid now. So I don't think anyone's an amateur anymore. Last time we saw Carson Beck was at 11 at our hanging out in our section. Maybe we were hanging out in his section, but yeah, that was post UFC fight. So that was an interesting. I know you had a fun tailgate with Warren Sapp. Luckily, that was earlier in the day and not later, as it may have turned a little bit differently. And as the day went on and the drinks were flowing, but all wound up good. We're all home safe, and we live to talk about it another day. So and I know Bryce could get a little fiery. So I'm glad that
I can get a little fiery. John's seen it firsthand. I didn't say a damn word at this thing, and I'm not going to get into the whole story here, but I think that was nothing ended up happening. Basically, we got the cops called on us by Warren Sapp, like when we first show up to the tailgate for no good reason, and they just didn't really want to deal with it. We just kind of, because there's a big IU tailgate right next to Warren's. I don't really think he appreciated that. Miami's used to having the whole lot for their home games, so everyone was sober. We showed up at like noon, so it all ended up working out just fine. But I'm not a Warren Sapp fan, and not really a Miami football fan. That's all I'll say on the matter. We can get into some golf here.
Yeah, we'll get into the golf.
We had a great time there. The city's hospitality is great. The Miami football fans are not.
Yeah, it's I expected it would be a little hostile towards the end. I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I was up in a suite. I was sitting. It was kind of mixed. There was a lot of Indiana fans, but I was also there with probably a handful of former Miami players, and I was talking with them quite a bit. So I was kind of I was rooting on the inside for Indiana, but I didn't want to outwardly root for them while I was talking to those guys. And it's always fun to pick the brains of guys who actually played while the game's going on. So I thought that was a lot of fun. But they emptied out real quick after that interception, and they were not shocked that he threw it underthrew. He's like, man, that's what he does. They were like, he does it all the time.
Beck's thrown 32 picks, I think, in his college football career. I mean, he's been a starter for a lot of years, which obviously affects that, but that has to be up there for most interceptions thrown in a college career.
I think in his 6 losses, he's thrown an interception on the last play of the game in 4 of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as they said, it's not like it was exactly unexpected from Mr. Beck. There's a reason you kind of get ran out of Georgia, but
yeah, well, that, and I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely over in Miami. He was the most expensive player, I think, in college football history. I mean, that'll obviously get beaten every year until like the NIL thing kind of stops. Like, it'll be, who's the best quarterback next year will be the highest paid player ever. But absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's head over to the PGA, where there's probably maybe a little less confrontation in the American Express. We got 3 different golf courses here. Like I said, it's a Pro-Am tournament, so we won't get a cut until Saturday. So it gives us an extra round for all of our guys here. Typically, no cut events tend to, the more rounds you get to play kind of evens things out a little bit, or not evens it out, but sort of the cream will rise to the top more often than not. We tend to like the no-cut events. Now, they tend to be smaller events as well. So this isn't a no-cut, sort of in between here. We've got the 3 rounds. We'll see this again, I guess, at Pebble Beach in a few weeks as well, a similar type of event. But 3 different golf courses, so we've got to kind of look at that. This has traditionally just been a tournament that it's a birdie fest. I mean, you could expect -20 to -25 kind of win this thing. I think -23 last year with Sepp Straka. Took it down. Each course is a little bit different, but really you've got to get out there and you've got to be super aggressive, make birdies. We're on the West Coast here. We're out in California. Typically, you've got the POA greens. That's what we've got on all 3 of these courses here. You've got some guys who just really enjoy it. Mostly guys who grew up out there. If you aren't familiar with POA, it's difficult to putt on for some of these guys who didn't grow up with it because it's not really as true sometimes. It'll look a little funky on TV, the greens, and it looks a little funky when you play on them in person as well sometimes. So they don't always run as true as maybe some of the Bermuda or anything like that they'll play when they get down to Florida. But what are we thinking about? We've got, and the one thing I haven't mentioned yet is Scotty Scheffler's in this event. So this will be the first event the world number 1 is playing in. He is priced accordingly, 14K. Or over 14K. What's his price this week?
14.2.
14.2 for Scotty, and nobody's even remotely close, and that's probably with the good reason. He's the predominant massive favorite in this event. So as it seems every time I've done the show with you guys, I think you always have to start with Scotty when he's in the event. Do we build lineups with Scotty, and then basically you've got 7,100 average after you take a Scotty Scheffler? So you're building from the bottom. If you go ahead and take a Scotty, you're going to have to throw in a bunch of guys here towards the bottom of the list, or are we going with more of a mid-pack type of a build? So I'll toss it to you, Bryce. What are we doing with Scotty Scheffler in our builds here this week?
I know Snyder kind of feels the same way I do about this. I think Scotty pretty much has to win to be optimal. Even if you get like a 7K guy winning, the pieces falling in behind that will probably be, I would say more like 9 to 10K guys. If you can do it. I think the redeeming part about playing a ton of Scotty this week is, you're guaranteed 3 full rounds out of the rest of your guys. So, if you have you're definitely going to have less made cut equity playing Scotty. I think he would be higher for me in, say, single entries. This week I'm just playing 150 in the main 25. So I think to win that, you obviously need a 6 out of 6. To win smaller field stuff, you might not. It depends on the size of the field. Like the 500 person single entry, you'll probably see a 6 out of 6 win. But 6 out of 6 is incredibly low here. I think it's like the lowest of the year in general. So I kind of like to I'm going to kind of prioritize made cuts here. I'm playing Scotty about 20% right now. So that should be under the field, plus 350. It's about his implied win odds. His true win odds would be slightly worse than plus 350, obviously, which is how I get from low 20s to 20. But that's kind of where I ended up. I kind of had to manually force in some more Scotty with the projections and whatnot to get to that number. I mean, the Sims want to give you like 10 to 15% in general. So I'm kind of on the anti-Scotty side, but it's not like I'm gonna straight up fade him or anything. If you do want to be more aggressive, I don't think this is a bad week to do it. I just think this will be kind of a recurring theme, and 14K is a lot to pay for a golfer. If he's 12K, the discussion's a lot different because he can kind of be top 3, top 5, and still have like win equity. But I think he pretty much has none this week unless he wins. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, but you end up with 7.1 for a golfer. So you not only need a cheap guy to win, you need other cheap guys to do like super well too, and you need all of them in the same build. It's just asking a lot.
Mitch, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to full fade Scotty this week. If he was like 12-5 or something like Bryce was just saying, I think you could justify it a lot more because you can literally play Scotty, or you can play the next 2 highest guys together, Cantlay and Aberg, and still have like 500 more per person. It's going to be incredibly thin, I think, to try and thread the needle with Scotty winning, and then you're going to need at least 4 of those guys under 7K, 3 or 4 of those guys in the 7Ks to, at least finish top 15 probably because this is more of a birdie fest. So I don't think like the winning placement points are really going to matter as much when there's people making 25 to 30 birdies out here this week. So the placement points really don't do much for me here. And Scotty really hasn't played well here the last 5 years. He's got a T17, T11, T25, and then a missed cut in 21. So if Scotty was going to be like 15%, I would be more well apt to get overweight on him there. But if he's going to be 35 to 40%, I'm just going to take my chances and go without him because I think there are possibilities where he could win this event even and not even be optimal or on the winning lineup, depending on the rest of those placement points. If you get 3 of those guys in the 9Ks all finishing in the top 10 and they're making all those birdies, and then you get like more of an even tier there, you could I think there's just more possibilities versus the ownership. Like the Sims are saying, the Sims are trying to push him 10 to 15% versus his 35% ownership. So I think that makes him kind of a bad play this week, but we'll see. He's right at plus 300, I think, to win this. Plus 345 right now on Pinnacle, and his Masters odds are basically the same. So I think I'm just going to be off Scotty and just kind of go more mid-tier, more even builds this week and try and build up as much like top 20, top 10 equity as I can.
That's what I wanted to ask you on the ownership. I'm seeing, like you said, 35 to 40% on a lot of these sites as projections. I have a feeling we're going to be under that by a decent.
I would take the under. The under.
I think they're just overestimating what the ownership is going to be.
You've never really seen
crazy.
You've never really seen 14K here, and as Snyder said, I think he has a better chance of winning and not being on the optimal team than he does not winning and being on the optimal team, which is kind of wild.
Well, I think you guys you both made good points there. One with the with Mitch there, where you were talking about just the fact that it's a birdie fest. How far can he can't really run away with it. I mean, of course he could. Could he really? But unlikely that he's just going to run away with it and be 10 shots better than anyone else. And there's going to be a lot of guys around that minus 15 to minus 25 number, and there's going to be a lot of points there with that. A lot of eagles, a lot of birdies. And so I think you make a good point there where I think a tournament like this just makes it even more difficult for him. If you get in a tournament where you really have to grind and he just has does what he's capable of doing and just kind of maybe laps the field in an event. Yeah, sure. Then certainly, but I don't think that's really something that's likely. at an event like this, where it's going to reward aggression. There are guys in the field who kind of fit that really well. And look, Scotty can obviously win anywhere, but I just think the fact that what Bryce was saying is it's going to also have to match up perfectly with the guys behind him. So not only does Scotty have to do that, but it's going to take a bunch of guys in the 6K range, 6 to 7K, who also just finish top 10 and get you there. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think being under on Scotty will be the play here. The question is just what exactly under is. So I don't even know if 25% might be the market. And maybe we got to get now, Mitch, you said full fade. You might just go full fade on Scotty.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to full fade. And another thing with Scotty is that he's not the best putter in the world either. We've seen him miss so many putts over the years. And if he starts missing some putts for birdie, and these other guys are, because they're going to be putting the pins generally in the middle of all these greens for the first 3 rounds to try and help speed up play. And you got a couple of real easy courses. I think La Quinta played as the easiest course last year. So there's going to be some low numbers from everybody. People are going to be putting it on the greens. There's going to be a lot of birdies made. So if Scotty somehow loses strokes putting, I think he's definitely dead then.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I mentioned the POA that can start to frustrate a guy.
Yeah.
If you're just not reading him well, if you kind of get a couple of bad bumps, and for sure there's going to be quite a few guys just kind of getting hot with the putter, rolling them in because they're not really difficult greens to putt. They're not going to be particularly fast either, as you mentioned with the Pro-Am there. They need to get the pace of play. These are going to be 6-hour rounds, and they're not going to want to make it any more difficult than it needs to be. So I think all really good points on Scotty. So once you get past, Scotty at the 14-2, you've got more, let's say, normal top of the list type of guys as far as salary goes at right behind him. So you've got Cantlay, Aberg, and Griffin all above that 10K mark. Mitch, I'll go back to you. Which of these guys, if we're going to get off of Scotty, do you want to start your builds with any of these guys, or are we going even lower?
I like Ben Griffin the most. I think he's going to be the highest owned guy I have in these 3 for sure. Ben Griffin's just playing some elite golf throughout last year, and he picked it right back up. Was T10 at the Sony last week in Hawaii. Has elite history here too, back-to-back top 10s in this event. So he knows how to play this event. He knows it's going to be more of a grind as far as time-wise goes. And he just makes a lot of birdies. And the biggest thing with Griffin is he ranks top 10 in bogey avoidance. So he's not going to be out there making mistakes. He's going to be fairway, green, have a shot at pretty much every hole. So I think bogey avoidance is actually pretty big this week as well. Not as big as birdies are better gained, but I think bogeys avoid is pretty big in these birdie fest type events. You don't want to be given any shots back when you're needing to make birdie on the majority of these holes. So Ben Griffin's going to be my first play up here, and then I lean Cantlay. I like playing him on these West Coast events. Has a couple of top 10s at this event too. The game was kind of rounding into form there during the playoffs. Ended up T2 at the Tour Championship. Had another good finish at the FedEx St. Jude. Had a top 10 there. So I think his game's kind of rounding into form. He loves starting at this event. He always plays this event. Loves the West Coast, the POA greens and such. And Ludwig, I'm not quite sure of yet. I need to look more into him. I don't know if this is an event where he can overpower this field, overpower this course. It's going to be short anyways. So Ludwig will be the least likely I would want to play in these top 3. But Ben Griffin by a pretty substantial margin, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you actually touched on a lot of the points that I want to make, and I have these guys in a pretty similar order as well. I thought I had I don't know if I'm right. I had Griffin as 3rd in bogey avoidance last year, and I think that's a good point too, because you're going to need these bogey-free rounds. I mean, your guys, especially the guys up at the top, if you're paying 10K or above, you're going to need all those points for them to be in the winning lineup. And he's a guy who obviously does really well avoiding bogeys, and this is the type of event and tournament where we could get, you might not see a birdie from whoever wins this, a bogey that is. Remember, whoever wins this tournament for the entire 4 rounds. So I like that. Cantlay also on that POA. He likes it. He likes putting out there as well. So I think we could see a good week here from Cantley. Bryce, of the guys here, 10K and above, anyone we're looking at, anyone you want to start your builds with, and anyone maybe you're just going to pass on?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not playing a ton of Scotty, it kind of lets you not take major stances elsewhere. Like, I mean, if I was playing all the Scotty, I mean, you're not getting any of these guys in your build. So, yeah, I can kind of play some of them. Ben Griffin's my favorite player, not named Scotty. I 100% agree with Snyder there. I think he's willing to grind it out. He can make tons of birdies in a hurry here. And yeah, I just think he has a ton of upside. I think Cantlay's, I like him in California. Like, I like playing Cantlay on the West Coast courses. In kind of this time of year. And I like playing like the Florida guys in Florida, obviously, but I think it's a little more pronounced here. Between him and Aberg, I think it's kind of tough for like my next favorite play up here. I'd probably say whoever comes in at lower ownership, and both guys are projected pretty low because I think both of these guys do get squeezed. Because I think a lot of people not taking Scotty will start their lineups with Ben Griffin here. I think he's clearly the best play.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the course history would back that, or the tournament history at least, would back Griffin here. So I think he's going to get a lot of ownership just based on that. If I'm adding it up right, he's got 75 birdies in those the last three appearances in this tournament. So definitely a birdie machine, Ben Griffin. All right, let's head to the 9K range. And I think a lot of people may be starting their builds down here at sub 10K. So you've got Sam Burns here at the 9,800, Russell Henley at 9,600, Fitzpatrick's 9,500. You've got McIntyre, Harry Hall, Sepp Straka, who's the defending champion, Harris English, Siwoo Kim. We've got some guys here who've had some success in this tournament at the 9K and that 9 to 10K range. We'll probably get a few popular picks out of here as well. I'm going to go back to Bryce here on this one. Bryce, who do we like at the 9K level, and who are we just kind of punting?
I think my favorite plays here are Bobby Mack and Henley. For me personally, big Bobby Mack fan here. Henley, I'm kind of always over him. If he putts well, and you can kind of say the same about Bobby Mack here. I think you could see him contending or winning here. I think Bobby Mack is playing some amazing golf here. Henley's a very hot player as well. So I kind of like choosing informed, like birdie makers is kind of like my favorite profile for a golfer here. I do think this is a good question to touch on here. Biggest showdown advantage of the year. 100%. Stadium course played a lot harder last year too than it normally does, if I can remember. So even bigger showdown advantage there. I do love playing showdown on the course rotation type of deals. Another guy I really like here, I know you mentioned him, is Siwoo Kim. I just love choosing him at Birdie Fests. It's kind of like my favorite type of play. He's won it here before, so he can do it. And because these 6-round out rounds do get to some guys, and they just. I feel if you were one of the guys that really bothered, unless you had a sponsorship requirement to be here, which I'm sure some of them do, I just wouldn't play the tournament. But some guys don't mind it, some guys absolutely hate it. So I do like defaulting to course history and hot golfers here. So those are my 3 favorite plays in the range. Nobody else really stood out to me. I didn't have any flat fades in my 150, but I think Harris English was in 1% of my teams, so I could basically consider him a fade. I like choosing him after he's kind of, warmed up and cheaper and, in the Southeast. He would be my least favorite play.
Yeah, if you look at the betting markets, the guy who kind of sticks out in a negative way, like a sore thumb, would be Harris English. I mean, he's really outside of the range. Most of these guys are between kind of plus 2,500 to plus 4K, 4,500. And you've got Harris English sitting at the plus 7,500 range there. So he kind of, at least in the betting markets, doesn't seem to warrant the 9,100 price tag. The rest of these guys are all, fairly close. You mentioned Siwoo Kim, who's cheap, is $100 cheaper. Past winner, has performed really well at this tournament. Mitch, who do you like here in the 9K range? And any golfers here? Are you anti Harris English as well?
Yeah, I like this range quite a bit. I think you can even start teams with 3 of these guys. You can start with 3 of these guys and still have more money left over per than just playing Scotty. So I'm going to be pretty heavy on this 9K range. It's between Robert McIntyre and Harry Hall is my favorite play in this range. Bobby Mack's just been playing some elite golf. He's got the putter rolling. It's just been top 10 or better in his last 5 events with a win overseas back in October. 5 events ago for him. So he's just playing elite golf right now. Last year he played good. And then our guy Harry Hall, last year he was just a freaking top 15 guy for us about every event. Crushed on the fall swing. Comes back at the Sony last week, T6 last week. One of the best putters in the field. So I'm going to be pretty high on Harry Hall. And the odds at Pinnacle opened him at 51, I think 51 to 1. They're always a little light on him on the open there, but he's down to 37 to 1 over there. So I like Harry Hall quite a bit. And then Bobby Mack. And then Russ Henley would be my 3rd favorite in this range, 9,600. I mean, he's just like Bryce said, if the putter for Henley heats up, I mean, he's going to hit about every single tee and every single green, every single fairway. Just going to be in elite shape off of the tee there. And then Siwoo Kim would probably be my next favorite guy, just elite birdie upside. And he's been playing really good down the stretch of fall. And then he went overseas and finished T3 at the Australian Open, and then backs it up last week with the T11. Good course history here, like Bryce said. He's made the cut here the majority of the times he's played here with that win in 2021. So he's going to be right there, Siwoo Kim. And then Sam Burns would be my 5th favorite in this range. I love the upside that he has. He's playing elite golf right now. Has a couple of T11s or better in 2 of his last 3 trips with a T20 last year. So he's been right there. He can make a lot of birdies pour it in. I like the upside that Burns has. Then Fitzpatrick's fine. He's coming off that win overseas there at the DP World Tour Championship back in November. He won that. Then he had a pretty good swing over there overseas. I mean, he had a bunch of top 5s over there throughout the winter. Comes over here. I think Sepp Straka needs to be in the pool. He had a good showing at the Hero and won this event last year, so he'll be in the pool. I will be fading Harris English as well in this range. I'm off of him. Can't play him all, so he's an easy cut there. I like guys cheaper than Harris English as well. So it's Harry Hall 1 probably, Bobby Mack 2, and then Russell Henley 3 for me in this range.
Yeah, I think Harry Hall might be a little GPP-ish. I could see him going really low or just totally crap in the bed. So I kind of like that for a GPP. I like some Harry Hall in here. Fitzpatrick, I mean, he's really precise with the irons. I think it'll come down to the putting. I think someone asked in the chat about Fitzpatrick, but I think he may go just a little low owned. I mean, obviously an elite talent and a great ball striker. Yeah. So if the putter is there, there's no reason Fitzpatrick won't be in the mix. And I think that's a similar situation you've got with Russell Henley. I kind of worry about his maybe the putting a little bit for him in a tournament like this. But yeah, definitely some options here at the 9K. I just don't see anyone in the 9K range that you'd really just want to toss out. I think all these guys are fairly viable. And like you said, you could play 3 of them and still put together golfers with a higher salary on average than starting out with a Scotty Scheffler build. So I think that's going to be I think these guys in the 9K range will be very popular for that reason. All right, let's head to the sub 9K down to 8K range. We'll go. We've got Siwoo Kim. I'm sorry, we use Siwoo Kim. We've got Taylor Pendrith. We've got Alex Noren, Kurt Kitayama. We've got the Thor Bjornsson, Michael. That is, we've got one of the Hogards from Rasmus, Fowler, Minwoo Lee, Davis Thompson, Jason Day, and JT Poston. Just kind of looking at the betting markets, Jason Day seems like he's the guy who kind of does not fit in here. He's got the longest odds of the group at plus 10K-ish. Most of the guys sitting here right around the plus 5K to plus 8K range, as far as or even plus 7K range, really, as far as the betting markets go. I don't see anyone outside of Jason Day who really pops out negatively or positively here in the betting market. So, Mitch, I'll go to you here. Who do we like? 8K range? Do you like anyone, or are we skipping this and going right down to maybe the next level?
There's a few guys I want to look into in this range. I always like playing my guy Michael Thorbjornsen. I love the upside he has, the birdie upside. He's going to hit a ton of greens and regulations, nukes it off the tee. It just comes down to the short game with him. If he can get that going, I don't see any problem with him being inside the top 20 at least in this event. So I'm going to have Thorbjornsen quite a bit. I'm kind of getting off of Kitayama. His odds have been dropping a little bit in the market, so I'd probably be under on him. I think Noren is a good play here. Pretty safe play. He's going to make a lot of birdies, not make many mistakes as well. One of the better putters in the field last 36 rounds. He's gaining over a stroke putting per round, so Noren's good. Probably be a little under on Pendrith. His odds kind of dropped a little bit as well. Rasmus Højgaard is, I think he's a really good tournament play. Elite birdie maker, but he does have that downside that comes with him too. He doesn't rank that good in bogey avoidance, but ranks really high in birdies. So if you can get him to avoid the mistakes here, he could definitely be in that top 10 coming into Sunday. So I'll have Rasmus in a decent amount of teams as well. I like the upside Davis Thompson has. He was runner-up here a couple years ago, has good birdie upside. And then JT Poston is probably right up there with Thorbjornsen as my favorite guy in this range. Has elite course history here, has finished inside the top 25 his last 4 trips, with 3 of those coming inside the top 12 the last 3 years. So he's got some good form coming in as well. His last event was this fall at the RSM, where he finished T7. And he had a couple other top 20s throughout the fall as well. So it's going to be Thorbjornsen probably 1, JT Poston 2, and then I'll go Noren 3.
All right. Yeah. I mean, just for me, you got to start looking now that we're in California. Like I said, the POA, to me, it's always about POA when we go out here. So just a little advice to those watching this. Start researching which ones of these guys putt well on the POA. You will be using it for the next few tournaments as they're out west. And JT Poston's a guy who has been very, very good on POA green. So down at that 8K level might be a guy to look at. He's had some pretty good appearances here, as you mentioned. I think he's got 3. I think his worst was T12 last year over the last his last 3 out here with a T6 back in 23. So definitely a guy to take a look at, JT Poston. I'm going to head over to you, Bryce. 8K range. What are you doing with these guys?
I think this is one of my least, or it's definitely my least favorite range this week. And I think one of the weaker 8K ranges that you'll see in a golf tournament. You don't have anyone doubled up. It's just, $100 increments all the way down. I feel like this might be a common pricing structure this year in tournaments that Scotty plays, where you just kind of get like him at the top, and then, you get all the value guys cheap, but like the next price guys and like the 10Ks are super strong because, him being priced that high kind of knocks their prices down, but these guys kind of stay the same. So I just like structurally when you're building teams, I just personally think this is a weaker range. It's definitely my lowest owned range. You definitely have some guys with upside here. You get 50 to 1 to kind of, 75 to 80 to 1 type of plays who can definitely come out and win the tournament. So I don't want to like totally ignore it, but in general, I like playing the guys in the 9Ks and 10Ks here. That being said, 8Ks here, I do like, I think my highest owned here was Thorbjornsen and JT Poston. JT Poston was kind of a me play. As you said, I really do like his putting, and 100% agree with what you guys said about him. Thorb was kind of the Sims kind of liked him, and I don't mind his odds. And I feel like I'm always over on Thorb, like no matter what tournament he's playing right now. So And when I say over, I think I'm projected to be 7% over on him. It's not like he's like an insane buy or anything. In general, most of these guys will be sells for me. I think the biggest one is Jason Day. I came out with no Jason Day here. So he's kind of like the Harris English of this range to me. It's just tough for me to, play a guy at 100 to 1 when, you have plenty of good guys around him. They're all going to come in like fairly low. I don't think like you're trying to fade some like bad owned chalk here. Like Jason Day's can be 0% owned, but I also don't think he's going to come out here and win this tournament. So, not a huge Jason Day fan. Favorite play here is definitely Poston, and I would just rather, especially in hand building teams or playing single entry stuff, I would just much rather get up or down in this region and kind of avoid it. But I think a lot of people can do the same with that. To answer Coach Sav's question, how many golfers are in my pool if I'm playing 150? It depends on the tournament. It depends on the field size. Right now I have 67 in my pool, and I think that's somewhat aggressive. I would be fine up to low 80s. If you look at people's breakdowns, some people play golf more thin, that'll have like 45 to 50 some in their pool. So I kind of fall in the mid range of the spectrum in golf. I'm typically, high 60s, low 70s. Just if you cut the field in half, I'm like normally a little under that. So I'm playing, probably 40% of golfers in the field, 45 in general.
Yeah, it's a 65 cut, 65 make the cut. Not that necessarily matters for.
Well, I typically, I think that's a good way to look at it too. I play about the number of guys who can make the cut. So in theory, you could have like a perfect pool. I've just always felt good about that. I'm not sure if there's any hard math to back that up.
Right.
I think that's a really good rule of thumb.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. I think in a tournament like this, I could understand maybe adding a few more golfers than maybe you normally would in your 150. So if we had a range, this would be more towards the high end of your range, I think, for the 150 build. I
think if you're playing Scotty, you want to kind of open up that bottom range more too. So you're going to have to try and thread that needle to get that right optimal pairing down there.
That's a really
100%.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. And typically, just in all, I think in just about all sports, how I look at it is it really depends on how heavy I'm going with. If I was going all in on one or two golfers, or 50+%, let's say this week on a couple of guys, then I open up the field a little bit more, right? Because I'm going so heavy. If I'm taking a fighter in UFC all in, I want to open it up to more options. If I'm heavily stacking the core, if I'm going all in on the Coors Field games, right? I want to loosen it up for my pitching, right? I'm gonna add more pitchers into my build. So that's how I look at it as a kind of a lever. If I shift that lever really high to one side, like the rest of it goes. For you old school people who had old stereos, it's kind of like moving the equalizers and whatnot on the stereo. So if one goes up, in my mind, it goes down on the other side. That's just always the way I think about it. So when I'm constructing, but that's just me. That's how I do it. All right. One question I wanted to ask you guys. I haven't looked at the Sims, but are the Sims giving a lot of golfers in the 8K range just for the fact that I think they're going to be light owned, or no?
No, it still likes the 7K kind of hammer type of construction because, even the projection. The Sims are based on the projections. The projections are all over the 7K guys this week. Because with Scotty priced at 14K, it does give you a lot of great golfers in the 7K range. Not quite as much as the 6s that you have to get down into playing him. I think that's kind of the big difference for me, at least.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at this sub 8K, and we're starting to get into, I guess, a more popular range, as we've got to look at some of these guys with some of the high priced options. Certainly, if you're playing Scotty, you're going to start looking down here, maybe even a little bit lower. We'll start it up. We've got Justin Rose and Adam Scott. Bhatia, I guess it's pronounced. I'll get a million of these wrong, and I already have on a few, but that's just and I watch and I still won't get them right. Cootie, Berger, Nick Taylor. Good luck with Bazootin Hoot For me, Rico Hoey, Kevin Yu, Wyndham Clark. There's a whole bunch. I'm not going to list every 7K guy, but when we get down to the 7K range, I mean, I always like to look. I think the first thing you should look, I think Mitch does a lot of this too, and I know Bryce does, just kind of looking at the betting markets. So when I look down here, some of the guys who kind of stand out, Berger stands out as far as some of the shortest odds in this group. You've got Akshay down here as well, sub 6K, sub plus 6K on Pinnacle as far as his odds go. You've got Gerard or Garrett. Is it Gerard or Garrett? It's Gerard, no? Ryan Gerard?
I think it's Gerard.
I think so. I'm going with it. So he's down at about plus 6,200. So you've got a few guys here with pretty decent odds in that 7. Let's cut it off at 7,500 up to the 8K because we got a lot of guys in this range, and then we'll hit that lower half of the 7K range after. And then a few guys like Michael Kim and Kevin Yu, also Bezutenhout, whatever, however we pronounce it. Those guys kind of with their odds in the market, not really all that good. They're kind of long prices for this price range that we've got here as far as the betting market's concerned. So, Bryce, I'm going to turn it back to you here. 7,500. We've got to start looking at these guys in our builds here with the expensive golfers that we like. So, who are we taking from this part of the field?
Yeah, so your guy Ryan Gerard projects to be the highest owned here. I'm right around the field on him. I do like him as a play, but guys down here, ownership does come into account for me. I think like he's a great play, obviously, but I think everyone will realize that he's kind of a great play here. So I kind of like getting some lower owned pivots off him. I think Wyndham Clark is a great play for lower owned. Don't mind playing him in California at all. He's a West Coast guy. Rico Hoey, I think, can make birdies in an absolute flash. And, you've seen his putter get super hot and him perform well at birdie fests. So I don't mind that. Daniel Berger looked awesome last week. And, if he's back to being kind of the Daniel Berger that we know, this is way too cheap for him. And other guys I'm over on, I like Akshay. I always like playing him in birdie fest type of deals, especially in California. Adam Scott is one of my higher leverage plays here. I think he comes in super low and carries a decent amount of upside. And then I like Denny McCarthy. I always like choosing him on courses where you kind of need to putt. Obviously, I don't think that'll be like a super unpopular opinion. No, he probably comes in around 10% here. And then I kind of like Keith Mitchell. It's just more of a gut feel than anything else. There's not tons of, crazy odds or numbers to back that up, but I feel like he can come out and play pretty well. He does have decent odds too. He's 86-1 on Penny, and it kind of looks like he's going to go super low on. So those are kind of my plays here. My fades in the range. If I had to fade someone, I'm just not getting a lot of Michael Kim. I think Kevin Yu in the range is also someone I'm just not really going to be on here. And then, I think those are kind of the two main fades for me.
Yeah, I mean, Gerard obviously coming off a strong week. I think we'll probably see quite a bit of ownership here. He's pretty hot coming into the tournament. Second place last week, I believe. Mitch, what are you thinking here? 7,500 up to that 8K range.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be high on Gerard. I bet him the win last week, and he came runner-up, back-to-back runner-ups then for Gerard in his last two events. I just love his upside here. So 7,600, I'm going to eat that chalk and be overweight on him. I don't think he's going to get too terribly high, though. I think I could see him somewhere around 10% or something, which I don't think he's going to get too crazy. But I like him quite a bit. And my next favorite guy is maybe even my favorite guy in this range is going to be Max Gracerman. He's a guy the odds have been moving quite a bit in his way. He opened 122 to 1. He's down to 88 to 1 in the markets now. Had a couple of runner-up finishes last year. I just love the upside. He makes a ton of birdies too, so he ranks inside the top 20, and birdies are better made in the last 100 rounds. So Grayson is definitely going to be a guy I get overweight on. Some other guys in this range, Akshay has seen a pretty good move in the markets as well. He opened 75 to 1. He's down to right around 58 to 1, I think, right now. So a decent move in his direction. Coming off a strong fall there. He ended the season really strong last year, was top 20 in about every event, closed out the Tour Championship T13, and then was T11 at the Procore, and then 14th at the Hero. So things are going well in his range. And then Pearson Coody is another guy the markets have moved a little bit his way. It's moved about 7 or 8 points in his direction since yesterday. So I like him quite a bit. Good form. Was T13 last week. It just comes down to the putter with him. He gains just under 2 strokes tee to green last 36 rounds. The putter is just up and down for him. So if he can line that putter up, I like his chances. Zayden Hoot's a guy I'll have in the field. Berger, I think, is a strong play. Rico Hoey looks like a good play, but I just don't know if this is the course for him. The short game really holds him back at times, and if that short game kind of leaves him here, he's going to get left in the dust, I think. So I think he's fine if you want to play him in 150. Sprinkle him in there for sure. Will Zalatoris is back this week as well. He hasn't played an event since I don't think he's played a PGA event since the PGA Championship last year, something like that. So big layoff for Will Z. He says he's in good shape, though. Has good course history here when he's played it, so he'll be in the player pool. I don't mind Keith Mitchell. He's always got that good upside. Has good course history here as well. T22 or better in his last 3 trips here, so I think he's a solid play. I don't see myself getting to that much Michael Kim either. I'll have a little bit probably, but nothing too terribly overweight on him. I think that's about it for me here. So my top guys is going to be Gerard, Gracerman, and then probably Akshay.
Yeah, I mean, Gracerman T7 last year in this event, so we've got some good history there, and I think a decent finish. Back in 2024. I mean, he made the cut. Wasn't a great finish, but finished minus 14 on the tournament. So either Bryce is really hungry or Mateo is.
Mateo's. If you guys can hear that, no one had made a comment about it, but he was snoring his ass off in my lap right now. He's a tired guy. He was that's
a dangerous spot for him.
He always comes back home tired when we leave him at his boarding school.
It was a rough day for Mateo. All right. Let's head down to the 7K up to that 7,500 range. And let's look at some of the guys here. Again, I like to go to the betting markets here. Matt McCarty seems like his priced a little bit stronger here, a little shorter than some of the golfers in this range. Patrick Rogers, similar price here, plus 9,600 over on Pinnacle. Everyone else kind of lingering around that, kind of 120, 140 to 1 number, with a few guys that are way out of whack. Vegas, Parry, and Grillo and Haotong seem to be some of the longest shots in this range. So, Mitch, I'm going to head back to you here. 7K, we got quite a few golfers here in the 7K to 7,400 range. We're going to need probably we're going to have to start picking 1 or 2 of these guys out of this group as well. If we were single entry building, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of them in your 150 builds. So who do we like best down here, and who could we just toss out?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good plays here. They're pretty good value down this range. Started at the top for me. Smalley's a good play, good course history here. T25 or better in his last 4 trips here. He's definitely a guy I want to have in the pool. I'm not sure how much Harmon I'll get. I don't know if I'll get as much of him this week. I like Bridgman right below him quite a bit. Was T30 2 years ago and then T21 here last year, and then comes off the T4 last year. We know he's got that elite scoring upside when he gets hot, and he can kind of carry it over for a few weeks, as we saw last year at times. So I think Bridgman's a good target. Max Homa, I just really don't know what to do with him. Probably will be maybe at best even with the field on him. Going down, I never seem to get Matt Wallace right. And he's always at times so flash some upside. He was good in his last event overseas. Had the top 10 over there. I think he's a guy just to have in the pool. Semi Valimaki is a guy I'll be overweight on. Comes off the win last fall at the RSM. Put together 3 strong events during that fall swing. So I'll have some of him at 7,300. Matt McCarty, like you said, I was really high on him last week. Didn't really pan out that well. He had one bad round, I think, in there for a T55, but was really strong down the fall there. Had a bunch of top 15s for us. So I'll go right back to McCarty there. Johnny Kiefer is number 1 in birdies are better gained and third in bogeys avoided over the last 100 rounds. So I'm going to have a decent amount of Johnny Kiefer. Didn't play the best last week. He was on that bad weather wave, ended up making the cut and finishing T61, but was great at the RSM, had a T7 there, and then had a couple of good finishes off the Korn Ferry Tour. Had a couple of wins over there as well last year. So I like some Johnny Kiefer. He nukes it off the tee as well, hits greens at a high rate. The around the green game for him is what kind of struggles with him. But with this easier setup, I don't think he's going to be missing too many greens. He's a good iron player. John Perry, had him last week. I know that was a big play that Mark had last week. Finished top 20. Had a good swing overseas there on the Euro Tour. Had a bunch of top 20s piled up together coming into that event. So we'll go right back to John Perry at 7.1K. I think like Matty Schmidt and Patrick Rogers are always good for tournaments. Patrick Rogers and Matt Wallace are 2 guys I just never seem to get right. They're definitely great upside tournament plays. I think I'll be higher on Patrick Rogers this week than I will Matt Wallace, but so Patrick Rogers will be a solid add in there. Big Rig, Pot Geyer's back in the field here. Finished T10 or T9 inside the top 10 his last event overseas this fall. I'll probably have a sprinkle of him just because I like the guy. Nick Dunlop has a win here. Looked good early last week and then kind of fell apart there down the stretch. And then Seamus Power is always a guy I like playing in these weak, easy courses. He can rack up a lot of birdies. Really has that upside. Has a good course history coming into T14 in his last trip here. Was T31 last week at the Sony Open. Had a couple of good fall swing events leading up there. So Seamus is another guy. I'm not like too terribly like huge overweight on many of these guys, but I like quite a few in this bottom range.
All right, we've got quite a few guys here to choose from. Bryce, what are we thinking? 7K up to 7,500. So
I was just gonna kind of go my leverage here to see who's highest. Guys that I like in this range. I'm kind of on the same page as Snyder with a decent amount of these guys. I don't mind Grazerman. Smalley, I think, is a decent play here. Valimaki, I think, is solid. Bridgman, I don't mind. Grillo, I'm not personally on. Sam Stevens, I think, is a decent play here. I like choosing him in Birdie Fest type of deals. Weird play that I like that absolutely no one will be on, Hao Tong Lee. I kind of think he has the upside to get super hot here. Obviously, that's not like a cash type play because, I could easily see him finishing at bottom 10 here, and that wouldn't surprise me either. But I do like his upside. Excuse me. Matt McCarty, I think, is a very good play here. 100% agree with him. Always seems to come through at this type of price point, and I think 7,200 is too cheap for him. Patrick Rogers, I think, is going to kind of be the chalk in the range, and I'm fine fading Patrick Rogers chalk, any time I can, especially at like 7Ks. So I'm not like full fading him or anything, but if he comes in where Sabre projected him, has him projected at, I will be well under that. And then, I didn't get a ton of guys below this price point that are 7Ks. I did get some in the 6Ks here, but that kind of does it for me here.
Yeah, someone asking, should we avoid golfers playing the first round? I mean, I guess that would be in Showdown, really, only because they're all going to be playing each of these golf courses, and the weather seems pretty good for all 3 days. So if you're talking Showdown, I would say, there's a definite edge to not playing the stadium. There was a significant difference. Do you have the numbers? I don't have the numbers. It's a pretty significant difference.
Last year was the first year they played it since they renovated it, so the greens were much harder, firmer, faster. It played a lot tougher last year than it had in the years before. So I think it was potentially up to like a 2.5 to 3 stroke advantage playing the LQ or the La Quinta in the North Stadium course, the North track, the Nicholas track.
Yeah, Stadium played super hard last year. I mean, I would fade it in years past when it was like a 1.5 to 2, but that kind of got doubled. So I would definitely fade Stadium guys in Showdown. I would even fade Scotty in Showdown if he was playing Stadium because he's not going to be priced for it.
Yeah. Pete Dye courses in general tend to be a little tricky and a little bit more difficult. It's a Nicholas course, right? The other Stadium course. Yep. Nicholas courses typically are like just favors guys who just kind of bomb it, and he doesn't really care if you spray it all that much on Nicholas courses. He kind of lets you get away with being a little erratic off the tee. So we've got to talk though about the sub 7K guys, because we're gonna have, I'm not gonna go through every single one, but who do we like sub 6K? Is there anyone that's kind of popping out at you? Just looking at the betting markets, a guy like Michael Brennan is plus 10K on Pinnacle down here. You've got Bud Cauley's plus 12K. You've got McGreevy plus 12.7K in the betting markets. So those guys kind of stand out as at least those betting to win over overseas right now, like those 3 guys down in the sub 6K range. Anyone popping out at you, Bryce? Who do you have in your builds down here that are showing any significance as far as ownership for you in your 150s?
Yeah, I mean, this range is especially important this week, I think, because you need these players to play well if you're playing Scotty, and you need a couple of them to play well. So, I mean, even if you're not playing Scotty, I'd feel much better about, say, including one of them in my builds as opposed to multiple. But guys that I have owned decently high, Mac Messner, Chris Kirk, Doug Gim, and then Bud Cauley will be a pretty important play for me here. Michael Brennan is my highest owned player in this range, and that's just kind of reflective of the betting markets here. He has steamed on DFS a bit, but I'm still willing to play him at these odds. Max McGreevy, I think, is a decent play. And then that kind of does it on guys I'm like willing to recommend here / very high / one of the reasons I don't love Scotty is because I think the range kind of falls off after the 7.1 point.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm going to assume you got a few guys down here for us in this range. As Bryce said, we're going to need them, especially if you're playing Scotty for sure. You're going to have to get a few guys down here. So who would you recommend for those Scotty players? And even if maybe you're just playing 3 guys at 10K plus.
Yeah, I think Mac Messner is going to be the highest owned guy here. I expect him to be over 10% owned. Has a good form coming in. It just sets up really well for this course at 6.9K. My second favorite guy is probably going to be Chris Ventura at 6.8K. Had a really strong fall swing there. Made 19 or more birdies in 4 of his 5 events there on the fall swing there. I think he's a strong play. He can get the putter going. He's going to hit really good off the. He's right at 70% accuracy off the tee and right around 75% greens regulation last 36 rounds. So I like Chris Ventura quite a bit there. I like the upside that Patrick Fishburne has. I've just been kind of waiting for him to kind of break out. I think he's an excellent up-and-comer. It just hasn't really panned out yet. But I like the upside that he has in general. I played Dew last week, which was fine. He made the cut, didn't do anything crazy. He was in the bad weather wave, I think, though. Finished T55 last week, but had some really strong finishes on the Corn Ferry leading up. So I'm going to play some of him again. I'm going to go back to Bud Cauley. I think he's good. Lee Hodges, I think, is a pretty strong target. He was T3 here a few years back. Was T6 last week at the Sony Open. Was T4 at the RSM in his last event on the fall swing. And Hodges is fourth in bogey avoidance last 100 rounds. So I like him at 6-7. I think Michael Brennan's a really good play too. Had that win last year back in October, won that event in Utah. So we know Brennan has winning upside. So I like him. Takumi Kanaya, I'll have in the pool again. I think Eric Cole is fine down here. Has good course history here, at least making the cut the last 3 years. Has a T21 as his best finish in the last 3. Cole. I think Max McGreevy's fine. He showed the upside on the fall during the fall. There had a T3 at the Bermuda Championship, and then a second that next week at the RSM Open. So we know he's got that upside, and was T11 at the Utah Championship as well during the fall swing. So I think McGreevy is fine at 6-6. Sam Ryder has popped at times in these events. High birdie upside guy. S.H. Kim is another guy. Was T13 last week at the Sony Open. Had quite a few good finishes over on that Asian tour and then on the Korn Ferry tour as well. I think he's fine. Man, Tony Finau, 6.6K. Rough for Big Tony down here. I will not be playing Tony Finau, though. There's a couple guys. I know this. Where's he at? He's catching some steam. Khaleesi, 6.2K. Where's he at?
Yeah, I saw Tony was on him.
Yeah, Khaleesi Harada. I've seen his name on Twitter quite a bit today, so he could be a guy catching some steam. He was top 25 last week at the Sony Open and T26 in his last event on the Asian Tour as well. So I think he's fine down there at 6'2". If you need a real punt, pair up with Scotty.
Yeah, someone asking about the Canadian Yella Maraju, and he's kind of trending in the right direction. Obviously, had a pretty good week last week. T13, I would say most definitely you can have him in there. He's going to get a little bit of ownership.
The thing is, in this range, if you have like crazy takes, this is kind of where I would play them. If you're playing a guy that's cheap, you're probably doing it to get Scotty. So, you can obviously take more risks when you're playing Scotty. So I don't like, if there's a guy we didn't recommend, you can drop him in the chat. You're welcome to ask us about him. But yeah, we just kind of went through our biggest plays. There's so many guys in the field. But yeah, don't let me talk you out of someone that you've like done your research on and like absolutely love in the 6K range. So this is where you take your shots.
Yeah, I always bring my mom up on these because she's heavily involved in the fantasy football and golf. Those are her two big things, and she got pissed off last week. She gets severely depressed if she doesn't pick well. Mind you, she's ahead of me in the one and done, even after her getting upset. It's a 2 and done, really. So you got to pick 2 golfers, and she took Nico last week. And I knew it had to be a popular tout pick because he was the most picked golfer in the pool. So, and that's, she loves watching a lot of golf analysis. She's watching this right now. And even with her pick getting a cut, and I had 2 guys make the cut, she's still ahead of me because Siwoo Kim did better than my 2 made cuts. So, Mom, you're still beating me. As it usually does in these things. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a few guys down here, and I think Bryce is right. I mean, if you're, to win a big GPP, you're going to have to, do some analysis and oftentimes be on a golfer that maybe you see something in and perhaps the field doesn't. And when you get down here, you can be more apt to maybe take a stand as far as fading someone who's going to be high owned, down at the lower level, because I think you're going to get a lot more volatility and variance down at this level. So, you kind of want to look for maybe guys that are playing well coming in. The unfortunate thing about that is it's kind of how everyone looks at it, right? So if you have a good week, the prior week, they just figure you're kind of in form, and you're going to be and you're going to continue that form in this week. So you sometimes you do get a little overvalued on guys who had a strong week the week prior. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys, a lot more interest, I would say, in this really, really cheap range of golfers than we normally do. And that's because we've got a guy who's over 14K this week who will get significant ownership. I would say at least 20-25%, and a whole lot more if you pay attention to what's going on with a lot of these projections on various sites. So, all right, let's talk about. Do we have any bets this week? And then we'll do some pick six. We have any bets you guys really like this week?
The two I bet so far is Ryan Gerard at 60-1, and then Max Gracerman at 85-1, I think. Gracerman
and Gerard?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gracerman, interesting. I kind of liked him as well. I'll go to you, Bryce, if you had any bets that you had interest in this week.
I like Fitzpatrick here and Akshay. And then, if you're choosing guys that aren't Scotty too, I don't think it's the worst thing to bet like the without Scotty markets if you just kind of don't want to deal with the fade. I'm fine dealing with it this week. I think it's one of the better weeks to fade them. So, sometimes I'll recommend those without Scotty markets specifically. This week, it's not for me. I'm okay fading them with absolute, birdie fest. You need to shoot 30 under and doesn't have great course history. So, if it's not something you want to deal with, I think those markets are fine though. It's not like they're priced like super like messed up or anything.
Yeah, I don't love the betting markets this week as far as to win. I think you could definitely throw some darts here, and I think we're going to wind up getting a really long price. Historically, we've had some pretty long prices. I mean, +5K last year for with Straka. I mean, golf in general, you could get some prices. And certainly if we don't get a Scotty win, there's a good chance we'll get a nice long price. I'm going to take a shot on Michael Brennan here to win this tournament. So that was one pick I like, but I didn't make typically I'll have 5, 6, even up to 8 golfers. Just didn't love the pricing this week, but I'll take a shot on Brennan.
I'll get some matchups and some top 40s too in the Discord. Been doing pretty good on the top 40s. I know they don't pay that much, but generally you find the guys that you like in the mid tiers. You can get plus 150 or so on a pretty good guy. The top 40, and you don't have to win, so it's a lot easier.
It's funny now. I mean, I am definitely a lot more old school than probably a lot of people watching this, and I'm just used to typically most of the bets that you would make. Baseball. I'm not baseball, but football and basketball. Everything was minus 110. Spreads and totals, and now everyone wants futures or long, SGPs that pay plus 5,000 and whatnot. So golf has become very popular as far as the betting for that reason. But at the end of the day, value is value. So if you if you want to make some top 40 made cut type of bets where, like you said, they don't necessarily always pay as much, but it's where you find value. And over time, if you are making plus EV bets, you should be profitable. But we all want that $5 to win $250 bet. That's what everyone's looking at. It's certainly when I go to the bar, no one ever when anyone asks me what I like, no one ever wants to hear, I like the Seahawks or anything like that. They're like, oh no, what anytime touchdown bet do you like? That's what everyone wants to know. So,
There's a guy at the sports book here will stand in front of that kiosk for like an hour he'll put like $200 or $300 in there, and he'll make 40 or 60 of these $5 7-leg parlays, just trying to parlay his $5 in the freaking 20K or something.
Before it was legal and became popular, I had a buddy of mine who I don't even want to say, but it was a former teammate of mine, and never really, we're obviously friendly, but not a guy I hung out with a lot. And he was he couldn't get bets in with his bookie anymore. He was betting through his girlfriend, who was also a friend of mine. And so like an idiot, I was like, don't worry about it. I'll put him in for you with my guy. And I never saw a guy lose more money making $10 bets in his life, because everything was a 9-team parlay, 10 teams, pre-prop days, 10-team parlay. The guy would lose $1,000 a week betting no more than $25 on any one of his bets. So just lesson to all you guys. There's a lot of variance when you are you're making these bets, but golf's been a lot of fun for a lot of bettors for that reason. It's a nice sweat. You get a guy who's contending on the weekend, and you get a nice long price. So it is a fun sweat, but it's gonna be a tricky week. I think we're gonna get ourselves a nice long shot here. So I think you could throw a few darts at some of these longer prices if you like them. Let's take a look at pick 6. You boys have it up?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to you guys. One of you guys have one ready to go. I'm on I'm on a little bit of a heater here. We've with JBC and I have hit 11 out of the last 12 on our pick and winner show on Friday. We hit the 6 out of 6 last week for NFL. So let's see if I can keep it hot here for you guys with PGA. But we're going to start. If Bryce, if you got one, if you're ready, you want to throw it out there.
I'm still taking a look at it here.
Is it only round one?
Yeah, it's just round one. For
That's the only thing I was seeing here is just kind of round one strokes and round one birdies are better. I'm personally probably going to not I was trying to pull up who's playing which course here because it wasn't something that I really
wasn't prepared for because I was looking at
my week-long stuff.
Exactly.
Because they have them grouped into 11:30 and 12:50 here.
So just as a, when they play these, without even looking at it, typically your best golfers are not going to be playing the stadium course tomorrow because Saturday is when they get the most viewership, and that's when they want the main course to have the best golfers. So without even looking at it, I would imagine Scotty is not playing the stadium course this week, and
he's playing La Quinta.
Right.
General, La Quinta plays a little bit easier than the Nicklaus course, and especially in DFS. Obviously, this isn't that, but just kind of the way the course is set up with the par fives makes it easier to streak.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that help DFS scores. Players that I like this week that I thought I was going to be well over the field on here. I like Russell Henley under 67.5. I think he can come out and shoot pretty low. La Quinta obviously will have to putt well, but I kind of like that one.
Let me check one thing here.
Oh, you're good. Other players we can take.
I'm going to go Rico Hoey over 69.5 strokes. He's playing the stadium first day.
All right, let's see. You got it. You got one there, Bryce, that you were about to throw out?
Yeah. Michael Block over 73.5 playing the stadium course. I'm not a Michael Block guy. And the fact that he keeps getting like sponsors exemptions and this stuff is kind of crazy to me.
Let's see. I might have one here. Let's see. I'm going to take the under on Tom Kim birdies, 4.5.
All right,
first guy.
I like that. I think fading the stadium course here is pretty smart. Kind of seems priced like it's the older stadium course as opposed to the newer one. As Mitch said with the renovations, I think it plays pretty hard this year.
What was your stats?
I am taking Tom Kim under birdies. I think it's the only bet they have on him.
I'm going to go. Did you get my Rico Hoey one?
Yep, we got Rico Hoey.
I'm going to go Michael Brennan more than 69.5 strokes as well. He's on the stadium course and hasn't played the best round one as of late either.
Do we just hammer the stadium course or we take some more? I love taking unders on a lot of the pick six stuff. I know most people hate playing any golfers.
Yeah, well, and over here is kind of an under, in golf. But
right.
I like making the correlated bets that you can't really like. Say you did 6 stadium course overs or something like that, just kind of betting that it played harder tomorrow. I think, pick six is a great format to do that in because, the books will obviously knock you for making the correlated picks, but they won't here.
Yeah, I like that idea. Let's see what the number is for. I know it's a guy you like, but what about Seamus's birdie or better under 4.5?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? 4 in there?
I think we had 6.
Is that all 6?
I think we made 2. Who else did I choose here? I wasn't hitting it in. I had Michael Block over 73.5 playing the stadium course.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Henley under 67.5 playing La Quinta.
I feel like I only gave you guys 2. So if you guys put 2, I only gave 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch, we got one? Oh no, that's 2 each. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm always thinking I got to do 3 because I usually do.
No,
three times 2 is 6. Yes. All right. We only needed 2 each. All right, guys. So we've got our pick 6 in there. We got some bets. Hopefully, we get some DFS winners here for tomorrow. Any parting words for us, Bryce?
Good luck fading Scotty to all of us who are doing it.
I think that's going to be quite a few of us in the chat. Mitch, anything?
No, just going to have the showdown up, all 4 rounds on the site at runpuresports.com. We'll have the core plays and playbook and all that up as well. And we'll be in Discord throughout the night and into the morning as it starts. All
right. Well, good luck to everybody. Good luck to you guys. And, of course, everyone watching this broadcast before the game, before the first tee tomorrow. You might wake up tomorrow and they haven't teed off yet. That's the advantage of being on the East Coast and these West Coast. So you got time to get your DFS lineups in there. For Bryce and Mitch, I am Stats. This is the Golf Wars show for Run Pure Sports, and we will see you next week.